This Week in Connecticut with Dennis House starts now.
Welcome to This Week in Connecticut. Greetings, everyone. I'm Dennis House.
Pay is okay, but look at your office. Not bad.
Open jobs seemingly everywhere these days, but many left unfilled.
We have a mismatch of skill sets. People don't have the skills that the employers need, and people don't want to get those skill sets.
He has spent decades in law enforcement, but the former face of HPD and state police has a new gig.
There's no shortage of things to do, and I'm ready to get to work.
A small business with a big mission. Inside the small family company making parts for outer space.
It's exciting, it's really fast-paced, and has been very stressful, and that's helped us grow though.
Hundreds of shows and counting. Public access host Pete Mazzetti and making a major milestone.
It's a lot of fun to be Pete Mazzetti and just get out in the community and continue doing what I'm doing.
And our flashback, WTNH is turning 74 years old. We look back at some very special shout-outs from friends.
WTNH, I never heard of it.
Sure you haven't. It's New Haven.
New Haven.
First up on This Week, the lead. All over Connecticut, jobs are open, but few are applying. From lifeguards to executives to store clerks, the bosses can't find help. First, the beach crisis. With no guards wearing those familiar red bathing suits, some beaches may not open this summer. We begin our coverage this morning with News 8's Tina Detel.
This is your summer to be a lifeguard, you lifeguard wannabes. Let's go. The pay is okay, but look at your office. Not bad.
That starting pay has just gotten better than okay. It was $16 an hour, but now
we have increased it to a starting rate of $19 an hour.
You have to obviously recognize that someone's distressed in the water.
These new lifeguards in training bring the numbers up to around 60, but the state needs 100 lifeguards to be fully staffed.
Guarantee 40 hours a week. We work one shift only, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m.
And the state provides the 80 hours of training, which is all paid.
I love being outside, working with my squad and interacting with the public, and overall just helping people.
The push is really on now to fill these lifeguard chairs because the better staffing they have now, the better off they'll be in years to come. A lot of the lifeguards return year after year. Ocean Beach Park in New London, which also trains its own lifeguards, has hired 18 now, but needs 12 more.
I've had a few towns call me and see if we had any extra lifeguards. I know everyone's hurting right now.
Old Saybrook is in pretty good shape. It ideally would have 16 to 20 lifeguards and now has 15. There is concern, though, toward the end of the summer.
Once our college kids go back to school, second, third week in August, I'm sure we'll have a little bit more gaps in coverage.
If you want to work at a state beach, though, you only have until June 17th to apply. That's because they hope to have everyone trained before the busy July 4th weekend. At Hammonasset State Park in Madison, Tina Detel, News 8.
And joining us now to lend some perspective into this is the president of the CTBIA, the Connecticut Business and Industry Association, Chris DiPentima. Chris, good to see you back here in the program.
Great to be here, Dennis. Thanks for having me.
So we just heard about the lifeguard shortage. We're hearing stores are having trouble finding people. Why? Why don't people want to work?
Well, it's a real crisis here in Connecticut. It's not just that people don't want to work. We've also had a labor force that has shrunk like none other state in the country. We have 63,000 less people working today than we did pre-pandemic. So between the number of people on unemployment, the fact that the labor force has shrunk because a number of people have retired and or left the state, is causing this real demand for employers. At the same time, our businesses have seen record demand for their products and services. So we have more need than ever, and we have a smaller workforce than ever. And as a result, we have the stress that businesses are facing, whether it's the lifeguard and the summer work, the entry-level folks, or even the high-skilled labor.
And it's starting to impact everyday life. You go to a store and the lines are longer to check out and things like that. You can't get people to come to your house to do work if it is indeed needed. What's the solution? Is there one?
It's not one single solution. There's multiple things we've got to do at the state. You know, child care is affecting people going back to work, so we've got to fill those child care jobs so that we could open those child care positions so that people could have child care for their children and go back into the workplace. public transportation, which has long plagued our state. We're still having an issue moving people from our city to the suburban areas where the jobs are. So we've really got to solve that public transportation issue. Fortunately, we're getting some federal dollars to do that over the next couple of years. And there's just a myriad of other things we have to do. Training is a big one. We have a mismatch of skill sets. People don't have the skills that the employers need. And people don't want to get those skill sets.
Let's shift to gas prices. Over $5 in some parts of Connecticut, showing no sign of going down right now. What kind of conversations have you had with any state lawmakers or perhaps the governor's office to deal with this? Because it's impacting business.
It's impacting business, and there's a diesel tax increase that's going to go into effect July 1. We don't know how much that is right now. There's also a highway use tax, or a HUT, that's going to go in place that was passed last session, which will continue to drive up the cost of transportation. So we're talking to the administration, we're talking to lawmakers, even though the session's over, about can we pause those taxes? We've really got to give consumers a relief as much as possible. And the diesel tax increase is just going to affect groceries and delivery and everything that our residents see in the state of Connecticut.
You brought up groceries and so forth, where you see the inflation. Stores are raising prices, restaurants have to raise prices. Is there an end in sight, or is this the summer of inflation?
This may be the year of inflation. Well, the end in sight is solving the labor issue, quite honestly, because of this labor shortage, employers and businesses are just throwing wages at people, paying unbelievable wages to get anybody in the door to fill this demand. And until we get enough workers out there to solve the labor shortage, we're not going to see that inflation recess. Right now, we have 109,000 job openings, and if every unemployed person found a job, we'd still have 26,000 job openings. So we just have this huge gap between demand and the supply of labor right now, and that's the only way we're going to be able to control inflation.
So you're encouraging people to move to Connecticut, obviously,
absolutely.
Because we need more people, right?
Absolutely. Well, that's the whole systemic reason. People ask, well, why have we a smaller labor force than we did pre-pandemic? We had minimal population growth for the last 10 years, 0.9%, one of the most sluggish in the country. And as a result, our unemployment is higher, our labor force has shrunk more than anywhere else. So it's all about getting population into the state. If you get the population in the state, you have a bigger workforce pool, then you can fill that demand.
We have an interview coming up a little bit later in the program. The CEO will tell us that he believes that there should be more of a stress on trade schools, because for manufacturing jobs that are out there, they can't fill them because a lot of these people are not trained properly. Do you agree with that? Rather than a 4-year college, perhaps some people ought to go into the trades.
Oh, absolutely. We have to move away from this college or bust mentality. It has to be college or career mentality. We have about 1/3 of our students graduate public high school year, almost 10,000, that don't go on to a 2- or 4-year college, don't go on to the military. And so they have to see what a viable option a trade is. And that whether that's going to a trade school or having manufacturing programs in our public high school. Right now, there's almost 10,000 manufacturing job openings in Connecticut.
Chris DiPentima from CBIA, we thank you so much for being with us today. Always great insight.
Thanks for having me.
Also, a familiar face to Connecticut television viewers will soon be running a Connecticut town. Brian Foley was a deputy chief for Hartford Police, then a TV reporter, and now the state police spokesperson, and will now be the town manager of Tolland. And Brian, first of all, congratulations.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Dennis. Great honor, as usual.
That's quite a career. So, no more policing. What led you to this decision?
Look, I wasn't trying to leave. I loved my job with the state of Connecticut. Commissioner Ravella, by far one of the best leaders the state's ever seen. Working for the governor and his staff it's been very rewarding for me. But this was really a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I love all the connections I've made in the cities, in the city of Hartford. This is a chance to come home. Closer to home and really do some good in my hometown of Tolland, Connecticut.
We were in Ellington last week, which is one of the neighbors out there. Of course, Tolland is also one of the fastest growing towns in all of Connecticut. What are the issues it's facing right now? Well,
so you look at Ellington and what they've done, and Tolland's trying to do the same thing, and that is grow our business and industrial our footprints and grow them. But with that, you need infrastructure. And a lot of people don't understand that you need a sewer system, you need water systems in order to expand those types of businesses. So that's one of the issues. Public health. Look at the children's mental health. Obviously, is a big issue here, I'm sure in every single town, and that's one of the first things we want to address. And then don't forget, Dennis, the crumbling foundations in Tolland, ground zero, and now you're looking at the high sodium content in the water is going to be, I think, the next big issue facing our town. So there's no shortage of things to do, and I'm ready to get to work.
So Tolland has the town manager form of government. So you're essentially the mayor. You're the boss, right?
Well,
the buck stops with you.
No, that's not the case. I work at the pleasure of council.
Okay,
There are 7 council members. I think what I bring in is, these are such divisive times. Now, council's great. They get along great. But you look on social media and stuff, and there's so much back and forth. As you know, I'm an unaffiliated voter. I'm independent. I've never taken any side. You don't know which way I vote and which way I lean, and I can say the same about you as well, which makes you so valuable. So I think I can be a centering voice for the town to assist town council in what they do. And let me just say this, I'm very thankful that they put their trust in me to handle that position.
What has the impact of inflation been on Tolland? Gas prices and higher prices?
I think what everyone wants, look at everyone wants their taxes to go down. At the same time, we'd like to see our property increase in value. Our home properties, our businesses in town have the value go up. And how do you do that? You improve services, you improve quality of life, you improve education in town. Those are all things that make your value go up, and that's how you really want to start getting your taxes to go down.
You were in policing for more than 20 years. What's the biggest change you noticed from when you were a rookie to this day?
Easy lift there to name that. That's going to be videos and the accountability that came along with body cameras, cruiser cameras. In the early 2000s, we had a shooting in Hartford that was caught on cruiser cam, one of the first ones in our state. That was certainly impactful. And then now the body cameras, and then everyone, holding cameras on their phones now. It's been a major adjustment, I think, all positive for police and accountability and transparency.
Brian Foley from State Police, now making it to Town Manager of Tolland. Congrats again, and I'm sure we'll be having you on this program again.
Go Tolland. Thanks, Dennis.
A small business with a huge job will take you inside the Suffield company supplying parts to go to space.
I absolutely love what I'm doing.
From local community leaders to politicians to world-renowned forensic experts, Pete Mazzetti has talked to hundreds of people on his public access show through the years. And this summer, he's marking a major milestone. We will explain next when This Week in Connecticut continues right here on News 8.